Hey, thanks for being here. This is not an easy one for me. There's always a lot of resistance around these videos because I'm showing you parts of me and being vulnerable in ways that I was taught not to be. And I know it's important. I know it's important because it's the only way for us to acknowledge what's real and what's true for us, and to break through the delusions that are keeping us in pain. Ultimately, what I want in life is to end the unnecessary suffering. The unnecessary suffering that each of us endure. And what I'm learning for myself is that so much of this unnecessary suffering is held by the idea of holding on to a delusion that was handed to me before I could understand it was even a delusion. I was taught things that are not right, that go against the grain of my soul. And I have lived my whole life believing that there's no other way. In the last few days, I have finally been able to break through that glass ceiling in a way that I never have been able to before. And I've been able to admit to myself that the love that I've been sharing with the world up to now is very limited. And it's not the kind of love I want to share. It's a love that is codependent and that is draining. And even in its highest vibration, it creates suffering. Mostly for me, but for others as well. Because in my own suffering, I share an energy with others that causes them to suffer. It's a perpetual hell. How do you break through that? By being willing to face the fear. By being willing to face the things that you've had to ignore in order to create the delusion that you have agreed to participate in. As we do that on a personal level, we see it happening exponentially on a global level. On a global level, there's so much resistance, it's hard to speak about it. The thing that I'm noticing in the last 4 days is that I have come against something that I have been fighting to hide from my entire life. Maybe since the moment I was born. And I have worked with those around me to create a delusion that hides the suffering that is being created by the manipulation that we use to get our needs met. We're trained to do this. It's ingrained in us to feed off of one another in a very unhealthy way. And some of us embrace it fully, and it becomes what we call evil. And some of us fight it so completely, we shut ourselves down and we're not able to move. And some of us realize that it's a slow, fluid transition in every moment. And it's this fluidity and ability to move in all directions and to serve the situation that creates what we're really looking for. It creates the love that we've been seeking. It makes sense and no sense at all. My mind has been programmed not to understand. And that even when it wants to understand, that it's not safe to accept these ideas. When in fact, what is true is that it is not safe if I want to continue in the delusion. If I shatter these illusions, I shatter this experience and therefore put myself into an unknown place. And I have been programmed to believe that that unknown place is a place far worse than where I find myself. The place where I find myself has become so goddamn uncomfortable that I don't give a fuck. I'm willing to shatter the illusion. And that has been so fucking painful. And I'm ready to venture out into the unknown, risking that it may be worse. Because there's also an off chance that it may be better. And I'm willing to take that risk. This place of delusion has become so hurtful, so life draining, that death is the only thing that can come from it. And I'm willing to move. It's confusing after having held this space and created this reality for so long, and to have invested so much in creating it, and to have hurt so much in getting here, only to realize that what you have invested in is not what you meant to invest in. And then admitting that you did that because you didn't trust yourself. And you abandoned what you thought you should be doing, or what you knew in your heart of hearts you should be doing, to jump on board with everyone else who said, come over here and do this thing, it's easier. Come over here and do this thing, it'll be more fun. And you went over there and you did that thing, and it was fun for a minute, maybe, sometimes not even. Sometimes it just felt good to be included, connected. Before you know it, you got stuck there. And you didn't want to be there, but you didn't know how to leave. And you didn't know how to justify leaving, because going back over there, you don't even know what's over there. At least you know what's here, because you've been here now. So let's just stay over here with these people where we feel like at least we belong and we're accepted. If I go back over there where I think I might grow and feel better, I might feel worse. I might even make more problems. And I have no way of knowing. So I can trust myself and do the thing that I think is right, which is leaving. Or I can trust other people and I can stay. I don't know if this makes any sense. What I know is that for 43 years, I've been participating in a delusion created by my father. And that delusion has limited my experience in every possible way. And that now, as an adult, I need to acknowledge where I gave him permission to have that sort of control. And then I have to be willing to take that control back. And I'm very, very scared that I don't know how. What I'm learning is that fear comes from not trusting myself. And the not trusting myself comes from being told that I need to be dependent on other people. And their uncanny way to be able to show me that when I try to do something that isn't their way, how I fail. What I'm starting to realize is I fail because I'm trying to do my thing their way. And the only way to do my thing my way is to get the fuck away from them. And it is okay to need to do that. It is okay to leave them in their delusion. It is okay to leave them in their suffering. It is okay to let them face the consequences of their actions, as long as I'm willing to do the same. To take responsibility for what I've participated in, and to actively choose to no longer participate. Not half-ass participate, not participate in a way that might be healthier, because I don't know what those things look like. I can't even begin to discern those things because I'm not there. I couldn't fix it when I was 7, and I can't fix it when I'm 43 because I never learned what it looks like to fix it. I've learned to put band-aids and patches, and I've learned to cover things up, and I've learned to pull the rug over things, and I've learned to do a lot of things that help you survive. But I never learned how to fix it. I never learned what tools to use. I don't even know how the fuck it got broke in the first place. I don't even know what it would look like if it were fixed. You've given me a pile of shit, and you've told me, make a masterpiece. What does that look like? I don't know. I don't know. What if right now what I'm supposed to be doing is figuring that out? And not trying to do anything else. Be kind to others, but don't save them. Don't hurt them, but don't try to help because you don't know how. And that's okay. It's okay that you don't know how. It's not okay for you to try when you don't know how. Because it doesn't work out. How do you take the time right now to figure it out? For me, I believe that means looking at the things that I have been avoiding. For admitting that I do know what to do. I'm just afraid to do it. I have the tools. I have the knowledge. I have the instructions. I know that it works. I know that it works. I know that I can get from here to there. And I really think I want to be there. The fear is, what if I get there and I don't want to be there either? What if I never find a place that I want to be? Okay, well then just keep moving. Why is that a bad thing? The river never finds a place that it wants to be either. She just flows. And as the terrain changes, she flows with it. What if it's okay to not have to be rooted like a tree and still feel grounded? What if that's possible? What if it's not as hard as we think it is? We've just got the wrong concepts. Not even the wrong concepts, but the wrong understanding or belief about the concepts. What if our way of seeing and perceiving is really the only problem? And that once we're able to heal the parts of us that aren't willing to see it differently, what if it's not so hard anymore? Would you be willing to try? Is it worth it? There's no right or wrong answer for you or for me. There's the honest answer that only vibrates in your own heart. I believe, I'm coming to know all of our suffering comes from not honoring that truest vibration of who we want to show up as every day. Every time I show up in a way that goes against who I am, my values, my beliefs, my principles, in order to please someone else, or to stay comfortable, or to make someone else comfortable, or to avoid something, I create suffering. How do I sit with these things that I'm trying to avoid without getting stuck in them? It's like you were going down the river and all of a sudden you realize that you really came to swim against the current. And so you stopped. And in realizing how hard it was to just stand there in one spot and fight the current, or that the current wore you down when you were trying to stand still, you began to dig out this little hole over at the side of the river, and you created this little pond-like area where you were still in the water, you were still feeling like you belonged, but you didn't have to move, and you didn't have to hold against the current. And that was good for a while. But what you've discovered suddenly is that this little pond that once felt very good, very safe, and you thought, must be where I belong. This is nice. I've created this for myself. You realize that the water has started to stink, and that it's really not as comfortable here as it used to be. And that doesn't make any sense to you because You created this place where you can be still and safe and nothing changes and everything's good. That's not what you were trying to do. You think it was. Seems like it. But it never was. You just needed to rest for a while, and in the resting, you got too scared to move again. If you were not meant to move, you would be rooted like a tree. You are not a tree. You are meant to move. And movement can be unpredictable. It can be scary. You're not being asked to trust the movement. You're being asked to trust yourself, to know how to move with the movement in a way that serves you. And you're not sure you can do that because you've not done it before. And that's scary. How do we sit with those parts of this that are scared and teach them that they can move and that it is safe? It's only through experience that we can show them. And so if we sit in fear and refuse to have the experience, to move, to learn, then you suffer needlessly, regardless. And so how do we meet ourselves in a place where we can say, from this place where I feel so safe, I am certain to suffer. From this place that I feel so scared to go into, I may suffer, but I may thrive. Is it worth the risk? And the question is usually, if I were to fail, would the suffering that I would feel from that be greater than the suffering that I'm feeling right now? And unfortunately, the answer to that question can't be answered from where you are. Because it's in the experience that you gain the information, the wisdom, the know-how to endure that new suffering differently than you would have if you hadn't taken the risk. So when you look at it from this standpoint, the only choice that makes sense is to take the risk, because regardless, the suffering will be less. You may just be creating a new little dugout spot that will eventually become stagnant, but at least it's clean for now. And it gives you a moment to look at what you did and decide how best to go back into it again. It's trial and error. And if you're not willing to take the risk to enter the trial, you can't learn. You can't build the wisdom, the resilience, the maturity that is needed and necessary to live, to sustain yourself in a healthy way. And you can say in a healthy way, well, what is that really? Well, daggone, there's so many layers to that, and that becomes confusing. I could sit here and talk in circles for hours, and some of it would make perfect sense, and some of it would sound like cockamamie bullshit. The answer is it's okay not to know what to do right now. It's okay to be gentle and to listen, to sit with it, to notice wanting to overreact, to notice when you do. This is uncharted territory. And the first thing you have to do when you enter uncharted territory is to stop for a moment and look around. What are the dangers? What are the triggers? What are the automatic responses that are likely to come up? And do we have the tools necessary to respond to those, to move with them in a way that doesn't cause more suffering? Can I acknowledge the challenge and why it's challenging in a way that allows me to bring the tools to the table to make the challenge less challenging? So I want to try to give us an example of what that means, because oftentimes most of my reflections come in such metaphorical words that it's very hard to use them to actually create the experience. And so how do I do that? I'm not sure yet. I don't think I know how. And that's a source of frustration for me. And I'm certain that it's a source of frustration for others. How do I take these things that feel so true and simple to apply and digest them in a way that allows me to actually apply them in the moment when the thing is happening? I don't know yet. I don't want to end this video until I have some grand fucking explanation, grand answer that this isn't just some fucking ranting. And in that, I remind myself that it's in this acknowledging that we're lost in a circle that we can begin to see where we're missing the exit. And it's only in the noticing. And the noticing fucking is uncomfortable. But the noticing will take us to the exit. Can you sit with the noticing for now? Can you feel what's coming up and go, yeah, there it is, and feel it? And then just notice what is needed. Notice how you can nurture that feeling so that it can be used to align you. Thank you for being with me. for witnessing this. I hope that you're able to feel less alone and to begin to find words for your own confusion. To begin to find space to look at it all, to lay it all out, to find the clarity. Namaste.